Listening to your goals and dreams is our top priority at West Tennessee Bank. Benefit from our more than 100 years of experience and visit our Henderson branch today. West Tennessee Bank, focused on you. West Tennessee Bank is a division of Decatur County Bank, equal housing lender, member FDIC.
All right, there's a quorum present, so we can proceed with the meeting. Our first item tonight is a recommendation to accept the board agenda.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Motion is made and second. Any discussion on that? All in favor? Any opposed? All right, so the agenda is approved. And the next thing we'll do is approval of the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay, motion has been made and seconded. And so that is approved as written. Our first item, as far as our business of the meeting of tonight, is our delegations. I don't believe we have any delegations here to address the board, so we'll move on into our celebrations, which we do have some wonderful news to celebrate tonight. And I'll turn it over to you, Troy, to address that.
Well, again, I shared with you gentlemen and Miss Becky earlier when we got notified by the State Department of Education that Chester County High School was recognized for one of our career and technical programs. Specifically, it was within the health science education program and study, but more individually, it was with the nursing services. And in that nursing services, what they have been recognized as one of, again, I think over 100 different programs, but it only applies to 94 high schools in the state for a Tennessee Pathway certification. What that simply means on our end is that we have got strong CTE programs specifically in the nursing services that has a good connection between what they're learning at the school level, leading to a clinical experience that leads to really future and local careers. Tonight, I've invited two people here and to show the connection that we have and to make sure that our community is aware of how we are intentionally making sure that our students are not necessarily just going through the motions of school to get their diploma, but really at the junior high level, beginning to invest in what future potential careers that they have an aptitude and an interest in, and then begin to shape them through their high school years so that as they proceed or progress through their high school career, diploma being earned, but also attaining maybe some certification or some college credits that can get them on a faster track to get to that career wage. Our efforts are more than just to go through the motion. We are really intentional and wanting to make sure that our local community, including the regional effort, is aware that we are interested in feeding the next pipeline of quality employees, because I get frustrated when I hear businesses and industry saying we're having to hire temporary people for these jobs, and they come with a poor work ethic, or they don't come in at all. They come in with some type of issues that keeps them from being very productive. We are going to do better, and we do better. But when we invest in our guys and girls who do exceptionally well in school, we want to make sure that we're keeping as many as want to be locally living and contributing to be what we're saying in our mission statement, to develop productive citizens. So that's what we're attempting to do. So I'm going to turn it over to Miss Darlene Goff. She is the junior high school counselor, and she's going to share with you what she is involved with through the junior high program and how that feeds into the high school program, and then the teacher of our nursing services path, and also our CTE director, who you're familiar with, Ginger McPherson. They're going to both share with you information to kind of explain, as an example, one of the pipelines that we have to go from the junior high level to the high school on into career. But then that's not the only programs. We have multiple programs that are structured that same way. This is just one that, fortunately for us, we're being able to spotlight because of this Tennessee Pathway certification. So, who wants to go first? Darlene? She's looking back like it's...
It doesn't matter to me. Let's go together. Okay. I'm Darlene Goff, and I've been here forever. And so I've been at the junior high for, not yet.
Thank you.
For the
Audio check.
it works. That was great. Great coming there. So I've been at the junior high this is my 4th year, and for the last 3 years, minus last year due to COVID, we've been doing something different with career planning. We got a grant a few years ago, and there's a website called U Science, YOU. So it talks about you as a student, as a person, and what you're interested in. And so it takes our students through a battery of tests for the middle school grades, which is what our junior high is, 6 through 8. We do it in 8th grade, and as we're starting to plan for high school, because it really starts to make sense. In 6th and 7th, we do something called Cooter assessment, which is a little less detailed, but they do get a little bit of that. What do I need to start thinking about? How do I connect it? And Becky is a mom of a junior high kid. You know, Summit is there, and you've been through, was yours in Summit? They do have a piece that does go through career development as well. So we do touch on it in 6th and 7th grade. We've done field trips and that type of thing to start connecting them to local businesses, local career opportunities, so that they know what's out there besides just, I'm going to college. Why am I going to college? What's the point of what I'm doing now? And so U Science, when it came along, it blew me away. And Thomas has been a big part of that. If you take it, Ginger has taken it, and I think several of the high school staff have taken it. When you take it, it really pinpoints exactly why you like what you like. It's not your typical, do you like to get up early in the morning? Do you like to stay up late at night? Do you like people or do you not like people? It goes through a variety of tests that you don't think connect to anything. You know, you're matching puzzle pieces, you're folding pieces of paper and trying to fit it, and you're thinking, what on earth? But by the time you're finished, it has given you a full picture. And if I had more time, and if we were truly doing a U Science presentation, this is my daughter's. And so her top talents, it will break it down into your top talents and tell you what you're good at. She's really good at numerical reasoning. I'm really not sure where that came from, because neither her father nor I are numerically talented. And she's also good at sequential reasoning. And so then it goes on to explain, gives you a pie chart. How does that apply? And it helps her understand, why am I good at that? And what do I do with that? And so then it'll give you your career matches. And that's the part that really helps them figure out, what do I do in high school? Because we're looking at high school planning. High school counselors are coming next week. We need to know, why do we take what we're taking? You know, we know you have to take English. You know you have to take math, science, social studies. But what about all that other stuff? The stuff that Miss Ginger is a part of. What is that? What are those? Well, it gives you a whole list of careers. And these little badges, they can click on each of them. So like hers, some of her aptitudes, and that's another piece that is so much better than anything else, is what am I naturally good at? And they don't think about that, because when you're looking at something, ooh, I don't like working with people. Ooh, I don't like kids. I don't like this. But when it starts assessing you, like one of hers is teaching, and she said, teaching? I can't imagine. But we've had that conversation. I kind of like little kids. I could be a preschool teacher. And so when you click on those badges, you get an entire list of the careers. It breaks it down by region, by state, by county, the job outlook, the median income that you're going to get. And it gives them, how do I do that? What kind of training do I need? Where do I do that? And it points them in that direction. And so as we go through, when I have been administering this, I've taken what the high school has given us, which these are awesome to help us, and they can see which path do I really need to look at as I'm getting ready to choose these classes, because you need to choose a path. And we did a little video. Some of our 8th graders who've now done U Science and are ready to select their classes next week, and they can tell us how they felt and what it did for them.
I got a quick question.
Oh, I'm sorry, Troy. There was a question. I'm sorry.
Does every student, every 8th grader?
Every 8th grader takes it.
Okay.
It is required by law to have an aptitude test now. This went into effect last year. So we not, but now what aptitude test is not required? This aptitude includes, like she said, interest and aptitude. So it really is 2 parts, but it's good parts.
Good.
Brennan,
And I'm Brady,
and
this is how You Science helped us.
U-Science is a website that helps me figure out what I want to do with my life by taking small tests that help me with my interests and what I'm good at.
You Science organizes your future career paths by taking into account your aptitudes and interests, which helps you choose high school classes.
After taking our tests, we use this guide to help us explore our results even further. For example, my strongest aptitude was sequential reasoning. This means I can easily organize ideas and concepts in my head. I use this in school because I'm very good at planning how I'm going to balance out my schoolwork with my extracurricular activities.
As another example, my highest career clusters were finance and sales and marketing. This helps me when choosing high school classes because many directly correlate.
I believe every student going into the high school should take the U-Science test because not only did it help me as well as many others choose what career path I possibly want to take, but also help me figure out the high school classes I need to take. Thank you for watching.
This is brought to you by Eagle Vision Network.
And so they worded that themselves. I just told them, please tell me, and I was super impressed with the wording that they chose, but they hit the nail on the head because that's exactly what it does. Brady was the young man, and as we were talking, he goes, that really is one of those careers that's, the high school has a path for us, and absolutely. And so we're starting early to tie that in. So they have their why, because we all know that it's easier to figure out what we want to do when we know why we're doing what we're doing.
Okay, so once they do this and then they're coming to us at the high school, we want to make sure that they know about every path that we have to offer. The reason why we got the certification for nursing services is because as the CTE director, I went to some of those meetings and I saw some of the schools that were getting that pathway certification, and I was like, but our program is so much better. And I was like, we need to be made and acknowledge that we have that same type of service going on at our schools. So that's what kind of got the fire under my feet and wanted me to go ahead and try to get that certification. But it's like Mr. Kilter said, it's not just nursing services. We have so many paths that the students can choose from that could all have a certification. It's all about aligning all of the program of study classes with work-based learning opportunities, with post-secondary, and then with college and career ready. So we want them, if they want to go straight into a job, they will be able to do that. If they want to go to a TCAT and get an LPN, they can do that. If they want to go to Jackson State for 2 years for free with Tennessee Promise, they can do that. Or if they want to go to a 4-year university and then move on, they can do that. But we've got to show them that they can do that in any one of these clusters. So we are formulating a plan with U-Science, moving on up into the high school to show them what they would need to do every single year in order to attain that. They are not limited to just one path. If they wanted to take 2 paths, they could do that because some of those paths overlap. Just like, for instance, web design and health science. If they wanted to go into web design as far as health careers, then that would be a perfect mixture. So they're not limited to just taking one path because some of those paths do overlap. We're real excited about this new U-Science and all of the pathways that have their own curriculum and tells them what jobs and what services are out there. We just want to make the students aware of every possible opportunity before it's too late and they graduate and they still don't know what they want to do. So, questions?
There you go. Any questions?
I had a son that went through 4 years of college and didn't know what he wanted to do.
Exactly,
Till later, but
absolutely.
this is great. I mean, it
I don't know where
really
this
is.
was years ago. I have students that are in the nursing education class that get about halfway through and they go, I can't do this. I say, great, you have just saved your parents tons of money. But let's figure out what you do want to do. We got to finish this class, but let's figure out what you do want to do. We are also going to try to do a pathway in clinical internship. And that's one of them that a lot of people don't know about. This year, I'm going to pull this down a little. This year, we have, with COVID, we have 11 partners. We have 2 drugstores. We have athletic trainer, physical therapy, Main Street Medicine. We have nurse practitioners, doctors, dentists. We have a surgeon this year. It's just
optometry, speech pathology, just all the ones that we could get. Veterinarian. And so those students say, hey, I think I want to do this. Well, they do a 9-week rotation for an hour a day at these facilities, then they can move on to the next one. They either come out really excited or they come out and go, oh, I'm not doing that. It's just like, for instance, pharmacy. I can't do that all day long. I do not want to do that. And they were for sure that they wanted to be a pharmacist. So this allows them to see. And so I say, okay, let's go back to the drawing board. Think about what you might want to do. Let's do our next rotation somewhere else. Because the kids really don't know until they're there. But that we're going to try to do a pathway with that, and we're going to try to do a pathway with transportation MLR. James Carter has good work-based learning set up with his students. And then our next one, we're hoping to be either like web design or agriculture. Agriculture is really taking off. We've got great partners with TCAT. She's got awesome work-based learning going on. So we want to make sure that the community knows what kind of services we have to offer.
You know, and again, the thing is, we want our parents to know now, while these kids are entering high school, that your work as a parent is not finished by saying, I'll just have my kid go to a 4-year university. Because there's several career wages that are available for these children for much less time. And just like what Ms. Ginger said, if you apply the Tennessee Promise, you can have it debt-free. You know, when not to dismiss all these TCAT programs that we have several at our own facility on White Avenue, I can't say enough that the TCATs have a 95% completion rate and a 95% job placement rate. There is no university in Tennessee that can match that number. So those are viable options to where our children can have a viable career wage and be productive in class and stay at home and not have to say that only success is found when you go to a big Memphis or a big Nashville. There are plenty, especially in COVID, where everybody's doing things remotely. Now people are working from home more than ever. So when we have, again, through Aeneas, when we have better service here locally, you think about all the options. My daughter's pursuing a TCAT program over here at White Avenue. She took the youth science and her strongest aptitude for what she's doing right now. There's challenges with it, but she convinces herself and reminds herself, I have the ability to do this because I've already proven it through the youth science test. So for a parent, it sure helps me to justify and to keep her pressing on. Remember that this is something that you are going to be able to do. And the confidence that builds in these children as they go through the clinical, as they do their dual enrollment opportunities and have actual solid college credit before they leave high school, those things, you don't have to worry about the discipline. You don't have to worry if they're not going to graduate on time. All those are taken care of by the student's self-motivation. So it's a great asset. She mentioned agriculture. You know, I sent you guys the Delta Press article. That's a national publication, guys. That is significant that our ag program has reached that level that quickly. And I know sky's the limit. So again, hats off to Ginger. I know Thomas was mentioned. Thomas is the one that exposed all of us to youth science when he worked at Southwest Tennessee Development District. I've asked him to kind of pass the torch to Clay. So Clay is taking more of the leadership role with this partnership that we have with the USDA and the TBR. But again, our effort is to make sure our families know that there are viable workforce opportunities local. And it's not just in medical, but there's also in maintenance, light repair, and coding, and in other things that we are hoping that more of our kids realize that I can make that career wage and stay home or stay closer to home and contribute well.
And I mean, we also started work-based learning in the business management course this year with a new class called Virtual Enterprise, where they run a whole company virtually. So Coach DJ Sheets is over that, and the kids are just phenomenal with that as well. So there's lots of things, but we just have to make sure that we are getting that information out there to parents and students. And I took the youth science myself, and it said that I should go into healthcare or education. And I mean, when I took that and I was like, this is weird. Is somebody watching somewhere around me? Is there a camera? Because it really is enlightening because you don't know how they get those answers from the little things that you're doing, like the puzzles and all that kind of stuff. But we're real excited. We have a lot going on at the high school because of COVID, and the students, eighth grade usually comes up and does tours. But with COVID, what we did the past few weeks is we have created virtual videos with students, teachers, viewing the classrooms, and those videos are going into the junior high starting tomorrow. All the eighth graders will see every cluster that we have to offer before they register for classes. So that's just another way to try to get our information out there and let them see, you know, the opportunities and what they have to choose from.
And those videos will be uploaded on the CCHS website after the eighth graders have a chance to see
Very
them.
good. Any other questions, comments?
Great job, great job.
Thank you, staff. I mean, that's, you know, again, I sing your praises, but, and again, I'll say this, and I'm not gonna point in that, but we are having good connections with people out in the regional effort who wants to partner with Chester County because they are, of course, it's easy for us to brag on ourselves.
Did you tell them about the Zoom meeting that we had?
No, I didn't. That's what, you wanna say something? I didn't know how much we wanted to.
We had a Zoom meeting with the CEO at West Tennessee Healthcare and a couple of the vice presidents who really are interested in what we're doing and wanting to partner with us more so to do work-based learning and virtually and have our students come into the hospital and show everything that there is to offer and do short video clips. Like James Ross is an excellent one because he was from here, and if he could tell his story, that would reach so many of our non-traditional students, which for nursing, it is males. So you can take it away now.
Well, I didn't want to share too much because I didn't know what you were comfortable with, but, you know, we had a community countywide leadership meeting a few weeks ago. And in that meeting, in the conversation, James Ross, JR, joined that conversation and said, you know, we have a real issue, a concern with the future workforce. Ding, ding, ding. So I made a connection to Ginger. Of course, the information with our certification had just come out on the national or the state press. So I pushed those messages to James and said, look, we need to talk. And that led to the conversation. Again, knowing James Ross, he's one that started from very humble beginnings, went through the EMS program here locally, and through that has led to where he is now as the CEO of West Tennessee Healthcare. So and he's a local guy. He's down to earth. But the great thing about him is in that conversation, I think Ginger would agree, you can tell that there's going to be a return on this investment. This is not just talk from James, because he left it by saying, we're going to talk some more with my internal group. So we're really looking for some great things to come out of that, with the understanding that a lot of our workforce goes to Madison County, and of that workforce, a lot of people end up working at West Tennessee Healthcare. So if we can continue to perpetuate that growth in the future, then we're building that strong pipeline to keep guys and girls local and knowing that it is a viable career wage.
And we offer the OSHA 10 certification and the CNA certification, and I do have some students that are going to be attempting the PCT at the end of the year. And he expressed that they would be hired on the spot, and this is the first year that will graduate that they have not touched a real patient. We have not been able to go into long-term care facilities because of the pandemic. So he's assured us that they would still be hired, that they would go through a probationary period and work with somebody else until their skills were where they needed to be. And they still had a huge demand for this right now. A lot of them use it as part-time jobs, but the experience that they get, I mean, you can't compare the money to it. The experience is invaluable.
Anybody else have a question or comment? It's exciting. I'd rather for a child to learn don't want to be in their major in the 8th grade than after paying for a year of college.
Absolutely.
So that's very beneficial. Thank you very much. Next item we are going to discuss tonight is a recommendation to approve a budget amendment to provide bonuses to the Chester County staff. This is through portion of that coming from the state and some additional information that I'll allow Troy to speak to before we proceed with that approval.
Well, again, board members, as your agenda reflects, a few weeks ago at the end of January, the General Assembly went through what they call the extraordinary session. During that extraordinary session, it was a focus primarily on educational bills. There were 4 bills that were included. One of those 4 bills was called the appropriations bill. And in that appropriations bill, they had, as an effort to recognize and say thank you to our school teachers who have made the commitment to work this year with schools being open for our students to be able to have a good education. They wanted to add some funding to the instructional salaries component of the BEP. Now, what they used as their number value was a 2% increase to the dollar amount that was going to go into the instructional salaries component. The instructional salaries component is one of 4 components, and some of you have heard this story before. That's where all of our certified staff are being right now salaried through. Adding another 2% from January to June, that represents half of our fiscal year. So legitimately, if it went back like the BEP truly is funded for the full fiscal year, it's a 1% increase. So in essence, it's a 1% increase, but since it didn't happen until January, that's why they can claim the 2%. So with this increase, the funding coming to us was supposed to say thank you with funding, one-time event that was going to put, there's going to be offered to those who are funded through the state salary component, instructional salaries component. Again, as we have shared, for some of you have heard it multiple times, the state, even though they claim they fully fund the BEP, they fully don't fund the number of teachers that we have in Chester County. For example, the state funds 179 teachers, educators with certification, and we actually pay out of that line 225. So we have roughly 40 more teachers certified to meet the mandates and to provide the best education that we can. We cannot do it with just the 179. And again, we are not unlike any other district that I've talked to. The majority of the districts in the Southwest area all fund about 70 to 75% through the state. The other 20 to 25% to 30% is coming through local funds. So when they offered our 2% from January to June, that was for the 179 teachers only. As we realize, and as everybody else also in the area when we had conversations realized, we knew we was going to have to add money to it, or we were going to have to take this money, a dollar amount, and offer it as a smaller, less incentive of a thank you, which was going to be somewhere in the neighborhood of $450 to $500 per teacher. $430 would have been what it would have been gross as a one-time bonus. That does not go to any paraprofessional, any support staff who have also worked in those same days. And I've asked teachers consistently since this conversation first started, would you want to do your job this year without your support staff? And emphatically, you can hear the answer, no. We're talking about our cafeteria staff, our school nurses, our support staff in the classrooms, your bus drivers, everybody here that we know that serves in some capacity to benefit our students and to keep our schools open. So again, like other districts in the area that I've talked to and the ones that Stacy has ventured with through the financial offices, everybody has said, we're going to offer something to everybody. Now, for our purpose, school board members, remember that back in July or June, when I went to you and went to the county commission, when we realized that we needed to include a virtual school option and we were going to partner with Schools PLP, the price tag was quite extensive, but we felt like because of the atmosphere of the time and the fear that was dwelling or increasing at that time, that it was important for us to have this established. So we sought out to withdraw from our fund balance $1.3 million because at that time we had over 600 families that said that they wanted to participate. What we realized is that we did not have that many actually participate. Once it got down to the actual deciding to do so and being able to stay that course, we had a lot less. However, because it went to you guys as the school board and the county commission, we got the money approved and we appropriated it in the right line items to pay for that cost of schools PLP. So with Stacy's recommendation to me that I support, and I ask you to follow, is that we are going to take those monies and allow that to be part of the addition to the salary bonus. It's going to be a one-time hit. That's why the state provided this 2% that they described. It's non-recurring, so it's like a bonus structure. But instead of doing $430, we want to take it up to $850 for every certified staff member, and then for every non-certified or support staff role, $500. And we are, again, seeking your recommendation to reassign that money in from those line items where they are now, and as you see in your board packet, to where those would need to go. It could have folded in the budget amendment to the consent agenda, but I felt like because of the nature of this, that there may be some discussion that you'd want to have, and I didn't want to let it slip through the cracks and nobody realized what that meant. The state funding we are using for this purpose, but we're adding to it because $430 per staff or per certified staff, we don't feel like is sufficient. So we're adding it to $850 and $500 to the classified staff. And again, the plan would be to take it before the county commission, depending on your approval, at their next meeting in March. And if they approve it also, then it will be direct deposited to the teachers and to support staff the Friday before spring break, be March 3rd, the 19th.
I think it's kind of important also to tell you the dollar amounts. The state was providing $116,500. That's our total allocation. And then the district would be providing almost $213,000. So this, I just think that's important to point out.
So based on those rough numbers, 1/3 coming from the state, 2/3 coming from us.
I make a motion to move the funds.
Second.
We have a motion made and a second, that we move the funds to approve this bonus structure for our staff. Any discussion?
Yes, sir. Just to be on the safe side, I think I may have a conflict. My wife would be in line to receive this bonus. So there's a conflict there. I can assure you that I will be impartial. If there's any objection to my vote, though, I will recuse myself.
Everything he said goes for me also. My wife is in line. I just,
I'll leave it
I
with
keep
you.
in line there,
I'll
Mark.
leave it with you two recusing. If the rest vote yes, it would still pass. So
We'll make that 3 because my
that's
wife.
true. Yeah.
Make it
4.
I'm pretty sure that, if y'all are approving something as a whole, you're not approving it for her.
Individually.
Or for your, so I think you're fine.
And there's a secondary approval coming from the county commission.
Yes.
Correct.
Right.
Even at the county commission, when.
Yeah, we're not the final say.
Right.
No.
Even at the county commission, if Tim Crow is on the budget committee, there are things for the school that he can approve, even though his wife works.
Sure.
It's not approving it for her, it's approving it.
And I think technically you just have to make it known.
Make it
known.
Make it
You don't have
known. You don't have to
to
recuse, you just have to make it known.
acknowledge it.
Yes.
Okay, my mom's.
So what they're
So
saying,
what do you vote,
so what they're
Johnny?
saying,
What do you
that's all up to me.
That's why there's a new chair, right?
And I think you said it, but just to be clear too, none of this money comes from our general fund. This is being moved from other line items.
Well, it's in our general fund, but it's general fund purpose.
Purpose, yeah.
It's not money coming out of the fund balance. We're not gonna ask for any additional resources to come out of fund balance, nor are we gonna ask the county commission to say, raise our tax rate that we receive or any sales tax revenue. We're not asking for any additional money.
Yes, yes.
This is money already set aside for schools PLP that we don't have to use because we don't have the numbers that we first projected that there would be.
And there would be no difference in the budget amendment that you're approving for this than any other salary budget amendment that you approve all the time.
Sure. So basically, the motion's been made and seconded, and interests have been expressed, so therefore we can move this to a vote if there's not any other discussion. Is there any other discussion? Okay, if not, all those in favor? Any opposed? All right, so it's approved that we'll move this and provide those bonuses to our staff. The next thing, we have one board policy to look at tonight. This is because of some other business being done at the General Assembly during that extraordinary session. So if you want to talk about policy 4.6 and 7.
Yes, sir. There were, again, just like what the chair said, we have, because of there's an accountability bill that was passed in the law. The accountability bill says that if you have 80% of your students attending that participate in the state test, then there will be no accountability that will be charged against your students, no accountability charged against your school, your teachers, or your district. So the only commitment that we have to have is that for every student, whether they're physically coming and virtually attending, they have to physically come and take the test. That's the requirement to satisfy that 80%. Now, with that understanding, because of them not having any adverse accountability to a student, we have two policies in place, 4.6 and 4.7, including your packet, that share that if we get the results back within 5 instructional days, then the results of that TCAP test or end of course test for high school, TCAP for the lower grades, has to be figured into their final average. And the percentage that the board approved within the range that we had was a 15% range. So again, what our 15% measure. So what we're saying is that if we get the results back within 5 instructional days remaining, then whatever the score of the test is, when we convert those raw scores to the cut scores, then what we will do is say that score counts 15% overall, and then the rest of the school or the coursework grades for the whole year counts the other 85%. Now, the problem now, unlike in the past, well, let me just say the past we've never really had to be concerned with it, because where our school year starts and where the state testing is, we never get the results back in time. But because we moved our school year a week later, there was that condition that could happen. Now, right now, I still don't think it would, but when I asked the TSBA about these two policies, because it reads that way now, given this new accountability, this is only applying for 1 year. The accountability bill only applies this 1 year. It doesn't apply for the years to follow. What they made the suggestion to me was what I'm suggesting to you, that we just ask the board to consider suspending that 15% for 4.6 and 4.7. So as it says, it will only last for a year, and it is my recommendation that the weight of the student's final grade be 0 as it applies to the TCAP or the end of course.
I make a motion that we approve the recommendations. I've got a question. I'm still not certain, and I think it may be a little bit off topic, but what do we do about the LOEs? I still don't understand how are we going to get LOEs for our teachers?
Okay, now again, for the way the accountability bill reads, the LOEs or the growth measure, they're still doing the observation. So we're still getting that part of the assessment or for their LOEs, because it's part of the quantity or the quality and the quantity. The quantity would come through their achievement and the growth measure. They're still having to secure a growth measure, still having to secure an achievement measure. It reads in the accountability bill that the growth measure will only be attached if it's to the benefit of the teacher, but it's still going to be out there.
That was my concern. I just didn't want the teachers to be negatively affected.
They're not going to be negatively affected by this. But here's the thing else, Mark. Reminder that what we're talking about for the spring of 21, that's not going to affect anybody's LOE for salary purposes until the 22-23 year, not the next year. See, we've already got an approval of a waiver request that we made because of missing the test last spring in 2020. And that was where we took that 1 year snapshot of the 18-19 results, LOE, or took a 2 year average 17, 18, 18, 19, or a 3-year average, 16, 17, and 18. So they have 3 options or 3 lanes to get the highest LOE, and then we take which one is the highest. So that's going to be impacting for the 21-22 year, and that's already been approved. We can already establish what those salary base increases would be, even though we have no LOE. What I've told the teachers who's directly asked me the same question you did is I will pitch to the state for the 22-23 year, the very same thing that we did here, to see if we can do that. And if they agree to it, which I don't see them why they wouldn't, but again, I don't know. But I'm gonna pitch that same request to approve some type of alternative plan to recognize LOEs because of those teachers who we have that are still compensated with salary increases based on their LOEs.
You anticipate they would grant that? They did this year, or for next year?
They did this year for next year. Yes, sir.
Okay. I just don't want to keep that can down the road and then have to deal with something in 22, 23.
Well, they are not even considering that for the 22-23 year, so it's not even a blip on their radar screen. We are conscientious of it on our end because we have about 100 that are
103 as of today.
103 that are still getting compensated from SOAR Classic.
We have a motion to approve the recommendation. There is a second. Okay, the motion has been made and seconded, and the floor is open for any more discussion. Is there any? Okay, if not, all those in favor? Any opposed? All right, the recommendation is approved that we suspend that for this upcoming year because of the accountability deal.
Till the end of this school year.
The only other thing we have tonight is, of course, some updates were included in our packet. If you have any questions about those, or if you have any that you want to specifically
Well,
address.
and ladies and gentlemen, I meant to include our numbers for COVID as of late. I've done this every month since I started taking the measure, but I forgot to include it. So I provided you an addendum to that because of what we have realized as of late, that our numbers have significantly been reduced. Ladies and gentlemen, we have not had numbers this low since late July. So I'm very pleased with the trend. And again, this is still with a significant number of employees in the district that have not had their second shot. That's not coming till tomorrow. So, again, with that second shot dosage and then the 2-week window that follows, that will give them another 3-month window where if they are considered to be a close contact with somebody with COVID, they don't have to go quarantine. So again, as long as they maintain their card, well, 3 months from then, we're into the school year. So I really hope that between those staff who are more susceptible to catch it than the children, if we can provide that type of security for our staff and students, then, the terminology of the herd immunity, hopefully see it reign supreme here. And let's see if we can get it down to 0-0. 0 active in the county and 0 active in the students. So we're on the track. We've got 1 5 through 18-year-old. Now again, and that's not a student in Chester County schools. That's just somebody who lives in Chester County that falls in that age group, who may be homeschooled, maybe attended another private school, or maybe a college student that is still within that 18-year-old mark that would count toward us because they live here in Chester. But 13 in total active, that's 13 at every age group in Chester County. So that is, again, late June, we could brag that these numbers were a little high, but July, things changed. And, like what Shane and I talked about just a day or two ago, it wasn't too long ago that they were over 100, over 200. So we've gone the right direction. We hope that and we encourage our students and our staff to still respect the rules that got us here and to continue doing the things that we have to do until the State Department of Health or the CDC tells us otherwise. We'll be ready to change pace when they give us that permission.
Any other questions or any other business to come before the board?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Okay, before we approve that, just a reminder, the next board meeting will be here at the board office on Thursday, March the 18th at 7 o'clock. And with that motion made and seconded, this meeting is